All right. This is your core. This is your core on drugs. Any questions? All right, but actually, this is like a little Chinese finger trap, right? And I wanted to show this just so you can see a little bit of how the core works. All right, so you got these crisscrossing fibers in here, and we have these crisscrossing fibers of our obliques, and they really do a good job at holding us together there, all right? So they do a great job at holding us together, and they do the job best, you know, when we're kind of pulling in and bracing there, all right? So if we can look at some of the abdominal muscles, most people focus on the rectus abdominis, all right? And that's like the second one, the six-pack muscle, you know, in that picture there, all right? Well, the one I want you to focus in a little bit more on is that first one in the picture, is the transverse abdominis. That one runs across here. So our first exercise we're going to do is going to be for the transverse abdominis with this pull in. All right, then we're going to kind of skip ahead and we're going to go to the internal oblique, which is that third one, and the side plank is we're going to try to work on, you know, the internal oblique, and that, you know, that one's going to get this in here deeper, and then we're going to do the external oblique with this plank with our wide foot position. All right, so external oblique's going to catch up in there, a little bit higher in there, a little bit to the side. Those are like hands in pocket direction of the muscle fibers. You're going to feel that as we do the exercise, that angle in this way, whereas the internal oblique is actually angled the other way. You know, and so we're going to hit those, and then we're going to try to integrate them with the rectus abdominis, and then we're going to load it at the very finish there. So we're going to do 6 exercises. We're going to do, you know, three rounds of it with a little bit of rest in there. So you can see the exercises there. Transverse abdominis, you know, it's going to be that vacuuming, you know, the side plank hip lift, other side. That's going to be internal oblique, external oblique. Now, and for the obliques, you're going to get both of them the whole time, but it's going to slightly shade towards one or the other. Then we're going to integrate those with the heel tap and try to really bring it together with all of them. And then we're going to try to load it with a heavy weight, or at least some kind of weight, to really, really finish it off there. All right, so that's the plan for the workout. All right, so again, the core, a lot of times if you think of what are the most common abdominal exercises that you know, is the plank, you know, is the crunches, and it is the sit-ups, which is mostly just the rectus abdominis. And so we're going to try to really focus in tuning into this pull-in while we're doing stuff. So we're going to start off with that. I'll get rid of my brain on drugs or whatever it is, the core on drugs. All right, so 1 minute each thing. We're going to start with the drawing, which is just standing here. We're going to be pulling in to start with, okay? So ready? On your mark. Get set. Is Bobby, you ready? Yeah? Just do it and go. All right, so I'm pulling in. So like I'm really, really making my waist disappear here. All right, so I'm hard pulling. So you puff the chest out and we're pulling in pretty hard. Like I'm pulling my stomach away from my waistband. Like, you know, I pulled in so much that my waistband's real loose now. Now this hard pull-in is really going to be the basis of a lot of what we're doing here. All right, so I'm making it very flat, indenting it if you can. All right, now, you might not be able to indent it yet because there's still some weight to lose or things like that. All right, but you try to get as much of this pulling in factor as you can. Part of this is going to be puffing the chest out. So if I'm slouching over, I can't pull in very well. So straighten out and draw in, particularly the lower abdominals. So that area below the belly button, down in there is we're pulling it extra hard. All right, so really hard pull in there. We got about 10 seconds left. See if we can quadruple the effort on that. All right, good. Now we're going to do a side plank with a hip lift. All right, so you can do it from the feet here or from the knees. I'm going to drop in, I'm going to squeeze up. All right, and as I squeeze up, I'm really getting this oblique, but I don't get it as well if I don't do the pull in while I'm doing it. So I'm pulling in while I do this. I'm not going to be slouching over here. I'm going to open up to access those muscles a little bit more. All right. That position right there really gets in. Dropping in a little bit and then squeezing up and trying to get that hip about the same height as the shoulders. As you're coming up, we'll really get that hard squeeze at the top for that oblique. So if I'm down in here the whole time, it's not going to be quite as much as if I pop just a little bit more into that position. The squeeze at the top there. Oh, I can feel that radiating on the side of my body. So this downside, this is where you feel it. Our other side. Now, if that's too hard for you, so when I'm from the feet, I'm doing bottom foot in front, but if that's too hard for you, you can do it from knees and dropping in, pushing up, but keep those hips pushing forward while you're doing that, and still squeeze hard at the top. I'm gonna stay on the toes, or the feet, the side of my feet as I do this. Make sure that the elbow is underneath the shoulder. You don't want to out in front too much as you're doing that. You know, underneath the shoulder is better. And again, the pull in is what makes this that much more, all right? So chest is out. The posture set, being set up really, really well is important on this. All right, good. Now, we have a front plank here, but I'm going to do a wide foot position. Let me switch sides, maybe you can see it better from here. So I'm going to do a plank, but my feet are apart. All right? So my feet are apart here, and I'm going to lift one foot off the ground. I'm going to try to hold it for about 10 seconds, and then I'm going to set it back down. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm going to try not to shift my body around. My obliques are going to be what prevents the big shifting from happening. All right? Oh. So there's an anti-rotation movement here. Sometimes people think the obliques do lots of rotating. They actually are more responsible for anti-rotating, preventing rotations from happening, bracing our core. Try to keep the hips centered, even though the feet are wide. The wider the foot is, the harder this is. All right? All right. All right, so heel taps is next in here. I'll spin it this way here. So we're tapping down and pulling up. Now we're going to try to integrate this stuff together so how we do it matters. All right, so I'm pulling in hard as I do this. So hard that I'm going to try to see if I get my obliques to feel some of this too. All right. Now you can tap out farther out, but the problem with tapping out farther out is it gets mostly just rectus abdominis and doesn't get those deeper ones. So if you're really trying to keep that pull in and keep the lower back from arching up, you're gonna really have to crank on the transverse abdominis and the internal and external obliques. And that's how we're trying to find a way to integrate that. So don't kick out so far that it just becomes the straight six-pack muscle. That one does not flatten your stomach out nearly as much as the transverse abdominis and external and internal oblique. All right, so now we're gonna load this. All right, so I'm gonna add a weight and I'm gonna do it with a V up. With this, so my legs are up, abs are in tight. I'm gonna start up high, I'm gonna reach back, and now I'm cranking a bit more, but when I reach back here, I'm pulling in super hard. Ho, 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 ho. Yeah, that changes things, all right? How you do this matters more than that you're doing it. All right, so hard pull in, ooh, and up. Hard pull in, and up. Whew. Reaching back, hard pull. Looking for extreme effort per rep. Hard pull in. All right, good. Whew. So there's a round, but we got 2-minute rest. So what I'm gonna do is I don't wanna waste time. I don't like wasting time. We're gonna hit a little squat here. All right, a little squat to rest here. All right, so I'm just pushing my butt out, putting my chest out, and I'm just stretching out a little bit here. All right, so I'm sinking in, stretching things out. So we got 2 minutes, we're gonna hang out, and then we're gonna hit that again. Now, if you did that right, I think I did it pretty right. That was extreme effort in my core, because again, it's not just that you're doing it, it's how you're doing it that really makes the difference there. All right, I'm gonna sink in a little more, get a little more stretchy here. Can use a good stretch. Did some nice squats yesterday. Gotta keep it limber too. All All right, we got 1 more minute of stretching. I'm gonna do the double hamstring stretch. So I'm gonna tip over here, show you my best side. Oh, you changed the camera angle. There you go. Yeah. All right, chest out, butt out. All right, I guess you can change it. All right, so the back is really, really straight. I'm tipping over here, and I'm not really focusing on how far I can bend over, keeping it this really straight. I think about like tipping my hips into this stretch there. All right, so I'm really trying to focus in on just hamstring, not lower back. All right, which is a great thing to practice too anyway. Working on the core does make it better for your lower back as well. So we're going to come back to that drawing in after this stretch here, about 10 seconds there. And we're going to try to hit that thing again. All right? So I got about 15 pounds here that I did for the V-up. You can try heavier or lighter for that when you get to that loading phase there. All right? So we got the draw in. All right, pulling in. So I'm puffed the chest out a little bit. I'm pulling in here. I always debate on some of these things, like it's a core video and I'm not actually showing you my core. So it's there, it's good, it's strong. There's little lines, okay? But I'm not that kind of guy so much. All right, so chest is out, abs pulled in. My wife will vouch for it. All right, pull the stomach away from your waistband here. Hard pull in. About 15 seconds, go a little harder. Ah. So what we're trying to do is this muscle runs side to side. And if we can train this muscle up, it actually creates a little bit flatter abdominal for us. It's not a bad deal. Whew. All right, so the oblique, the side plank. All right, up in here. Drop it in, coming up. So internal oblique focus just a little bit more. Still pulling in. Still do that draw in a bit there. If you're like me, you'd go, oh, I'd rather you not say that, Jeremy, because that makes it harder. And squeeze the top. Keep that chest out. Hips lift up a bit. Chest is out. I keep working on all my posture points. Pulling it in. Hollow it out. Oh boy, that's hard. That's hard. I do like bottom foot out in front there. Top foot out in front, sorry. Bottom foot out in front for a different exercise. All right, hips up. Hips are up there. The reason why I like this top foot in front is it turns me just slightly towards the floor, and that's a little bit more where that oblique is resting there. All right. Well, it's not resting. Chest is out. Squeezing in, dropping, and squeeze up. Pulling in. Sometimes it may help to actually put your hand on your stomach there to help you with this pull-in feeling while you're doing some stuff. 5 seconds. All right, whew. All right, so that wide foot plank. All right, so I'm on my elbows. Feet are wide. This is super hard to lift off without shifting. Hold it for a few seconds, as long as you really can, basically. But you want to be switching back and forth some on this. Holy moly. So keep that foot wide. You only lift it like 1 inch off the ground. And don't let your hips drop or shift to the side when you do it. They want to drop and they want to shift. But you try to hold middle. 5 Hopefully you could tell that was hard for me to do. All right, so we got the integrate right here. So we are gonna be getting some more of the rectus abdominis, the main six-pack muscle here. But we wanna keep that pull in, so we keep that radiating into the transverse and into the obliques. So if you feel the rib cage working a lot on the sides, that's your obliques. If you're sore on the sides of your rib cage after abs, you did a great job on obliques. If it's mainly just the front and middle, that's gonna be just the rectus abdominis. Pulling in. I'm gonna put my hands right on my core there and try to pull away. How hard you pull away is how hard the exercise is. All right, I'm gonna load it. Legs are up, reaching back with a pull in. I'm gonna pause for a second. Ready, hit it again. Get that pull in. Better to pause than to do a bad one. All along the bottom of my rib cage, feeling this. And below my belly button. Reaching back, pulling in. When you're the farthest back, you should be pulling in the most. Because at the time your back wants to arch while you're doing this. If you can, try to move the weight and your shoulders at the same time. Oh, all right. All right, we got a third round to go. We'll do a little lunge stretch here. Oh, you can do it from the knee, or you can lift off. You put your hands down. All right, so we just have 2 minutes, and I just don't want to do stand around for 2 minutes because I have so many parts of my body that could use some stretching or something else. So I imagine you might be the same way. So I'm dropping in here, weights on the heel of this front foot, fairly straight with this back leg, sinking in here. Oh, I'm gonna minute on one side, minute the other side. You can shift around a little bit. Hit some slight different angles. Turn in, turn out. Whew. So we've got that next round coming up after this leg. So switch sides if you want to get something going. If you just need to stand around, that's fine. This last round is going to be amazing and a nightmare at the same time. All right. This is hard to do, and it's made all the harder because of the focus. All right. So, and that's really one thing I want to challenge you is when you're working out in general, tune into your posture more, especially this chest out, abs pulled in. You know, but also when you're doing core specifically, you need to try to dial in that pull in while you're doing core, and it will make it 4 times harder than what you're doing. So if somebody's like, this is easy, they probably aren't pulling in as hard as they can. All right, you wouldn't be saying this is easy, you know, if you were pulling in real hard with that core. All right, because it does radiate so much. All right, get ready. Draw in. All right. All right, pulling in here. All right, so you can see a little bit, maybe if I tighten my shirt up, you can see that it's narrower here. It's narrower here, and it's up high some, but down low is where we're really thinking about it. All right, so down low. Again, I should feel like I have a lot of room in my pants because I'm pulling in so much. All right. So these are non-elastic pants. I got a belt buckle on here too, so I can really feel like, yeah, there's some slack here now. So I'm pulling in real strong, but try to keep the chest out. I'm going to double it with this 15 seconds here. Oh. Hard pull. Such a silly thing, but it's working me so hard. Yeah. Whew. Now when I pull in real hard like that, it radiates to my lower back even. Now, you might think, oh, that's bad. That's bad, you feel it in your lower back. It's not bad to feel it in your lower back if it's that muscle work happening. All right, those muscles coordinate with the transverse abdominis to create that weightlifting belt for us. All right? So if I'm really cranking my transverse abdominis, I might be really cranking on some of those lower back muscles are getting involved and getting tight too. Abs are pulled in. Drop it in, squeeze it up. Drop it in, squeeze it up. A couple more. Here we go. My shoulders are stacked over that elbow. Dropping in, squeezing up. If you need to push a lot with your feet while doing this, you're not doing it right. It means you're setting yourself up with that too far out and you're pushing back against it. All right, so I don't have that much pressure of trying to push myself forward with my feet. Dropping in, squeezing up. Most of my force is pressing into the ground. All right. Pulling in. Get a nice squeeze at the top. Getting that hip up to the shoulder level is super hard. Oh, holy moly. All right, wide plank. Holding middle, foot's wide. Don't drop the hip. And check as you switch feet. See if you can tell if your hips shift side to side or rock in there. Your goal is to keep the hips in the exact same spot. Oh, it's hard. This can't be done from the knees. If you needed to, would take some pressure off. Maybe I should have told you that sooner. Oh, let's integrate with that heel tap. All right, tapping and lifting up. So this is a fairly short workout, but I actually wish it was shorter. This is hard. So pulling in while doing this. Again, if it feels easy, check your pull in. You might not be doing it well enough. Pulling in, and I can feel this all along the ribs here. I can feel it all along there. Oh boy. Pulling in. Oh. All right, integrate. Here we go. Integrate with the load. Here we go. Maximum load time. Legs are up. Oh, pause for a second. I did 5. Let's make it 5 more in a row with this hard pull in, all right? Oh, it's starting to fail out. It's good. Hopefully you are too. But make sure it doesn't fail out while you're working. All right, better to pause and do a complete hard flex than a half flex. One more. Oh, oh, oh. There's that. All right. There's not a ton of stretching you need to do for that, but you can lean back a little. Oh, stretch it out a little bit there. All right, so I sometimes like to throw in a little fact about myself, and I forgot to do that. So here's a picture of Sarah and I just a few weeks back, or 1 week ago. Oh, less than a week ago. For our 17th anniversary of our first date. All right, and so we had our first date in Naples, so we're going to try to take a picture every year in front of this building here, because I figure it's a historic building, so probably it'll stay there for a while. All right, so, and hopefully we will too. Hopefully we'll stay together for quite a while. All right, and then the other thought here is I got a little verse of the day to finish this off with. I don't think we need any other stretching there to really mess around with, but let me read it to you here. So it says, "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed," can you move that a little bit, Bobby? "Or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her." So that's Luke 10:41 through 22, and he's talking about Mary and Martha. Martha's running around trying to do all these things, trying to be a great hostess, and Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus and listening to what he has to say. All right, and so he's saying she's chosen something more important. So when I think about the core, I think of sometimes you've got to make a choice for something that's more important. I think about my relationship with my wife. 17 years from our first date. I guess there's certain things that you have to make sure you're choosing the one that is more important. There's a lot of things you could be doing. There's a lot of busyness you could get involved with, but there should be a little bit of like a hierarchy of things to pay attention to. Your relationship with God should be, the cornerstone, the base of that, the foundation. Just like our core, hopefully, would be the foundation for our physical bodies there. All right, is that we really help them make sure that the foundation is good, and if we have the foundation right, we can build a lot from there. So if I'm strong in the core, I can do a lot of fantastic things with my body, that I wouldn't be able to do, and I'd be risking injury if I did without that strong base. And so same with our life in general. If we don't have a firm foundation and something more powerful than us, our relationship with God, is that we can get tore apart pretty easy because we don't have the sturdiness, because that's, again, for me, is one of the few things that actually provides me with any stability in my life. My wife, we have a great relationship, but our relationship is not a great, stable place. I mean, it's wonderful, but we're both imperfect people. And so I need God first so I can come into that relationship and be slightly more stable for my wife. All right, so making sure you got those first things in there first. All right, so a little thought for the day, in there. And, hopefully this core workout was fantastic. It'll change your life forever. All right, I'm going to feel this one later. It's going to be really, really good. So we're working on this drawing and stuff. Maybe repeat this one once a week. Could be a really good way to use it. All right, so I'm going to end us with a quick prayer. God, thank you for your wisdom in your word. Thank you for the bodies that we have. Help us to take care of our spiritual life, but also our physical and mental, emotional, health as well. Help us to really keep in mind what's the most important, and maybe allow ourselves to drop and not do, and not spend time on some of those other things in favor of the more important, things we should be working on. Help us to be safe as we go about, as we do our exercise, and help us to not be blown about, by different things here and there, but have some of that security in you. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, amen. All right, have fun, be safe, God bless.